Do you like my hat?
Pro Tri News, yeah, always representing.
Yep. If you haven't listened to this week's episode, go listen to it. It was pure fire. Have you listened to it?
I needed something to do while I was cleaning. So
What'd you think?
I did put it on.
You always listen on 2x speed, which I'm like, you can't
do.
even understand.
I have to rewind sometimes. I'm like, what happened to Mark? Somebody invaded his house?
Something fell, and he thought somebody was breaking in. Yeah, it wasn't the case, though.
Yeah.
All right. This is going to be, a little bit of a season recap, a little bit of we're just coming off the back of your final race of the year in Miyazaki, which you won. So maybe let's start there. For those looking at my arm that are wondering what's going on, I broke my scapula, which has been a real bummer because I didn't get to go to Japan then.
Yeah, Pat was planning on coming, and so I think that was probably the biggest bummer. And then the second biggest bummer was Stanley telling us that we can no longer do bike races.
For 2 years. He said, you have to take 2 years off of bike race. And I'm like, bro.
He told me I could still swim and run and do triathlon, but no biking.
All right, so you went to Miyazaki.
Yep.
You flew there. Originally you were going to fly with me, so we
late.
really pushed it. So you left Tuesday night.
Got in Wednesday at 8
p.m.
Yep.
Sorry, you left Tuesday morning from Denver, and then you got there at 8 p.m. on Wednesday.
Yep.
And the race was Saturday morning.
Yep.
So you had all day Thursday, all day Friday. But that's like...
pushing it for me.
That's pushing it. Maybe talk us through the training that you did on the turnaround from Torremolinos to Miyazaki.
I think at the end of the year, it's kind of just about, like, you're not really going to gain much more fitness. So it was just kind of like maintaining. And I felt like I wasn't really ready for the season to be done yet. So, I had motivation to train until the weather turned bad one day. But yeah, I don't think I did really anything special for this race.
Yeah, I mean, we just had like that one motor pacing session that was super cold for me. It was like 30 something degrees out. I was like fully dressed. But yeah, it seemed like it was pretty standard training for you to get ready for this. The difference being is that last year Miyazaki was a Olympic distance.
This year was a sprint
distance. So that made it, I would say, maybe a little more approachable.
Yes. And I think as well, like, I still was kind of building back my running. And so I think the sprint distance suited me very well, just from the collarbone break and not having as much time to do the training I would need for an Olympic distance race.
Yeah, and it was weird because the collarbone break really actually impeded your running more than it did your riding.
Yeah, way more than my riding. And actually, I think it impeded it more than my swimming too, which sounds weird. But anyway.
So the race started out.
Went to Miyazaki. It was actually, Parker was there for, there's USA Triathlon as a program called Project Podium, and he was great help. He was wonderful there. It was like a lot of, I felt like, just high performance, and I was really happy to have him there, somebody to help. Where we stay is like 3K away from race site, so it was really nice to have. I mean, I wanted Pat to come because normally USAT doesn't bring people to World Cup, so I was a little nervous about how I'd get like spare wheels to the race site, so it was really nice to have Parker there helping out. Okay,
and the race started out ocean swim.
And it was choppy. It was different choppy than the grand final. Like, the grand final was really choppy, but you could actually swim through it. And this chop was harder to swim. But yeah, it was one lap swim.
But they showed us some like aerial footage from out on the backside of the course. I mean, in the way,
yes,
it was
huge.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and it was hard. I mean, it was hard to swim. So I think the group maybe stayed together because of that. I think it was harder to stretch it out.
So you exited the water in 9th place.
Okay.
Tell us about the end of the swim and heading into T1.
Yeah, it was a really long run from the swim. We had to go up kind of this hill on sand and weave into transition. So, I wanted to gain some spots there, which I don't think I did, but I was able to maintain. And then, mountain the bike. And this, I knew that, there was some good horsepower up front. So just tried to ride really hard. And it took, two laps till we caught the front pack?
I think so, yep. And then, tell us about the course, because there were some dead turns, but they were at like the bottom of bridges. And so there was a pretty large accordion effect coming in and out of those.
Yeah, there was, I don't know if I should talk about this, but like the motorbikes got in the way a lot on these. It was like a really narrow, it was like a one side of the highway, and it had, you came down, you did a U-turn, came down, and then did another U-turn, and this was all on one side of a highway, so it was pretty narrow where these U-turns were, and it was like, you went uphill, downhill, U-turn, uphill, and so anyway, there was a couple instances when there were motorbikes that were getting like stuck in these U-turns, and we had to maneuver around, and it caused some breaks, and people, I actually fell off the back pretty far one time because of that. I wasn't decisive enough to just kind of go around the motorbike. So it was interesting in that effect, but then you also had this really long, after those U-turns, a super long straightaway where you could see everything, and that was a good opportunity to use some power. And in the accordion effects, yes, you'd get really shot off the back, but also if you were trying to catch up, you could easily catch onto the back of a group because it would slow so much before the U-turn.
Yeah, I just think it was a little the one section that they used where they split the single lane into two lanes.
Yep.
They should just eliminate that part of the course, and then they should modify it to go. We're going to go 5 laps of a 4K circuit.
Yep.
Because I think it's just simply too narrow.
Well, especially if you're going to have motorbikes on it, it just doesn't. It did not work. It was not safe to have the motorbikes on that course.
Yeah. In that section.
Correct.
Only in that section. The other 4K
was fine.
Totally fine. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was just my feedback from a safety standpoint. Okay, so look, the bike you really struggled on.
I rode horribly. Yep. We can move on.
But you were aware. I was certainly aware of that watching. But you.
Yeah. It had some stuff going on with the bike that just helped me ride worse. But it was a horrible bike ride for me.
Okay. If only you knew somebody that used to ride their bike a fair bit that could help you. Yeah. It would just be super convenient. It would be super convenient, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so then it was like, okay, group of 17, you're coming into T2, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be, no disrespect to the other competitors, but I was like, this should be a pretty easy 5K run for Gwen and have a nice little victory. And then all of a sudden they pan to you in T2, and you're coming off the deck. You've fallen. So
if somebody was there, or if somebody has footage of what happened, I would love to see. Because I don't know what happened. I just know that I was on the ground, got up, and my knees hurt a lot. It's interesting because I was looking. What were you gonna say?
I saw when you racked your bike, I was like, you were limping, and I was like, I don't know if Gwen is going to finish this race. This is bad.
Yeah. I was looking down because it was my right knee that really hurt, but my left one was bloody, and I was like, well, you got no blood, you're fine. But yeah, it hurt a lot that first lap.
Yeah, and I think you took, I don't think that you came into frame of the run until about 2.5K.
Yeah. Did I even make up any ground that first lap?
You certainly caught a few people. Yeah. You were in like 6th place or something, but I was like, you'd finished one lap, and I was like, okay, a podium was probably realistic here, and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, you caught 3rd, you caught 2nd, but then that Alyssa Koenig was still like, had quite a bit of space. So tell us, roughly what like the last 1,500 meters was, and are you doing that math in your head, or are you purely just looking at her and you're like, okay, I know the finish line is coming relatively soon, I got to just start kicking?
I think this entire race, there was a moment when you said, like, oh, podium. I kind of thought that in my head. There were times when I thought that running, like, oh, just, you can at least get a podium. And, had these thoughts, and I still was like, no, you know what? I'm going to go as hard as I can in this moment. Doesn't matter what happens at the end, but like, I want to go for the win. And so for me, it was just constantly pushing, constantly trying to see, like, is this as fast as I can go? And with, we were coming in, there was like a U-turn, and then, it's only about, from that U-turn, it's less than a K to the finish line. And I saw Alyssa do the U-turn, and she kind of like looked back, double take, and I think I made up like 3 seconds immediately because she kind of just hesitated and saw me. And, then, I could smell blood, and, I probably caught her with 400 meters to go. And at that point I just kind of sat on for a little bit, and we were running up where we ran up from the ocean swim to transition. So we were coming through that. That's when I caught her, and she started sprinting a little bit early. And yeah, thankfully I had a little bit more in the tank to win. I just really wanted to make a good coverage, but
you made it. Yeah, you made that the most
exciting World
World
Cup.
Cup of the year, 100%. So it was the most engaging, without a doubt.
But I think that race I had a lot of things that I'm not proud of, and a lot of things that I'm excited about to improve upon. But I'm very proud that I never gave up. There's a lot of times in that race when it would have been just easy to either make an excuse or just fall off, and I didn't. I kept my face in it, my nose in it. It's the wrong saying, but you know what I'm saying.
No. I think, and the other thing too is, as I said, you also want to be grateful for the opportunity to win, and like that.
No, I mean, I didn't have. This is I won a Connie Cup, my first race of the season, and but besides that, like, I haven't won any races this year, and so yeah, I mean, it was super nice to be able to finish the season with a win.
Cool. And then we'll kind of maybe do like a little bit of your, so it was great to win. And I mean, I think fine. The last note on Miyazaki was you did the race at, it was roughly, I think, 8:50 p.m.
This is the other thing. Yes.
8:50 a.m. local time.
Yes.
And then you had to quick run home. Tell us about what it looks like to get to the airport on time.
We did a tight flight out because I thought Pat would be there and he could help pack. And podium was at 12:30. Our flight was at 4. It was before 4. It was 3:40 something. And my airport pickup from the hotel was at 1:30. And again, we're 3K away. So I'm like, geez, what do I do? And I also had drug testing. So yeah, crossed the finish line, quickly did drug testing. Thankfully was able to produce enough. And then went to the hotel, packed everything up, and then ran back to the race site on my bum knee, which hurt so bad. Got there in time for the awards. Then I didn't think about this, but I got a trophy. And I was like, I did not think this
solid
through.
Glass.
Yes, I'm like, how am I going to get
show the
back?
box that it's in?
Yeah, they gave me a box, but it's heavy. And so I was running, like this for 3K home with this thing, and my arms hurt so bad. But anyway, I made it back, and then I boarded the shuttle, the 1:30 shuttle, with sweat dripping down my face, but I made it, and all is good.
And so your race was at 8:50 a.m. Saturday in Japan, and I picked you up at the airport with Laura and George at 7 p.m.
Same day,
from Denver,
Saturday.
From Saturday. So it was cool that
it was nice I could get home. Yeah,
you made it home quickly. Okay, so where does this?
Well, this is gonna be a long video. Are we going into season recap?
Well, we're
or do you
gonna
think
do a
we
little
should
bit
cut
of season.
it?
No, we're gonna do a little season recap. Let's just.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't need to be. We're not going to go through every single race every month. So, where does this leave you for the rest of the year? And then, I think maybe just give us like the highs and lows of the year and what you're looking forward to come 2025.
So it's November or something, and the next year starts kind of early, so it starts like February 13th in Abu Dhabi. So I'm going to take a little 2-week break, and then kind of get back into it. Doesn't really give a lot of time before Abu Dhabi. And the season, I guess some highs were definitely how I performed, I think, post collarbone break. I think there was a lot of things that just really turned into, Georgie's there, turned into, I had my highest WTCS placings post collarbone break that I'd had in this comeback. Ended the season with a win. So the lows were, I think, were just having not access to races. So like Abu Dhabi being canceled, being subbed out of Cagliari, things like that. And, I'm excited because I'm now ranked in the top 10, first American, so I can't really be subbed out. So I think, going into next year, I'm really excited that I'm able to plan my races, know what I'm going to race, and be able to...
Visibility on a full and clear calendar.
Yeah, which is really, it makes training and racing a lot easier.
Yep, and psychologically.
Yes.
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 I mean, there's a lot of things that you can be free floating with, right? But it's just nice if like there's a lot of unknowns in our life, but if you've got the knowns around what you're racing and what you're doing, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay, then final question. Will we see you at any non-draft races?
No, Kenny's cheering. Maybe a race if it's in a really cool destination after the year is done. Like after the
So the
WTCS season is done.
Okay.
But no, nothing competitive. Like only if it's like a vacation instead of a race.
Yeah. Yeah, understood. Okay. So you haven't been emailing like Sam or Dylan for a T100 spot or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Phew.
You'd love that. Then you could travel to the race, have your clients meet.
That'd be fun too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that was a great recap of the race and a recap of the season.
Perfect. Thanks for following along.